from Wales, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. Today we are answering your questions for Mailbag Monday, including what the best Royal Rumble moment ever is, talking about Omos returning from his excursion over in Japan, if we like the current 5-match per PLE WWE PLE structure, and in the main event, the main topic today, is Randy Orton the best all-rounder in professional wrestling history? It's going to be a fun show. It's Royal Rumble week. I'm excited. So many people are excited. It is one of the best weeks in professional wrestling. No doubt about it. Tonight, it's Monday Night Raw. But one of the big questions is, will Roman Reigns show up? Clark, welcome to the show today. Do you think Roman Reigns will show up tonight?
Yeah, I think Roman Reigns will be roaming around backstage or something like that and maybe have a segment. Yeah, why would he not be there? I mean, it's Rumble week. All hands on deck, my friends. Come on. How could Roman not be there? Is he going to no-show the Raw go home? Come on. Tribal Chief will be there.
Enough.
He's showing up.
Yeah, I do hope you're right. I do want to see Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, there. What about you, Sol? Do you think he's going to show up? I don't know.
He very well could do. He very well might not. I mean, what?
Are you freezing?
You're interrupting.
You're about a minute behind, I think so. Clark, I'm all good for you, aren't I?
Are we having audio issues? Okay, yeah, I'm confused.
Can you hear me, right, Clark? I'm all good.
Perfectly.
Well, in which case, yeah, there we are. It's Soul's Wi-Fi's lagging. But hopefully that'll solve itself by the time we properly get into this first topic. But we got quite a few comments out of the gates today. Numero 1 Superfly says hello. Hello to you, Numero 1. Happy Rumble week. Shard says the greatest Rumble match of all time is Triple H versus Cactus Jack. Rumble 2000. I meant literal Royal Rumble match. But that is a great shout as well. And I'll get on your comment in just a second, DCX Warlord. I Make Beat says his favorite match of all time is Triple H versus Cactus Jack. And, yep, a lot of agreement in the comments there. And Sean Ellis is in the comments as well. Shout out to you. Soul is back as well. But the first question today we are going to be answering is twofold. The first part of the question is, what is the best ever Royal Rumble moment? And the second is, what is the best ever Royal Rumble match, right? So an actual Royal Rumble style match, right? I'll go first. My favorite Royal Rumble moment is exactly what DCX Warlord said when Edge returned from his career-threatening injury. It was an incredible moment. It absolutely was. I mean, I was such a big Edge fan growing up, and then when I heard his music, I remember I was just over there in my bed. I woke up at 6 a.m. before school, or before 6 form it would have been, to watch the Royal Rumble. I turned it on, and he returned. And I was immediately awake. I was so pumped up. It was amazing, no doubt about it. But as for my favorite Royal Rumble match, I'm going to come to that at the end. Clark, I want to go at you first. What is your favorite moment and match in Royal Rumble history?
So my favorite moment, it's just an iconic one. I think it's the reason that we still have the both feet must touch the floor rule. It's Shawn Michaels in 95. One foot touches the floor before he finally skins the cat, re-enters the match, and gets the victory for his first of back-to-back Rumble wins. But that's my favorite moment. I just think it's great. It started a lot of stuff that in the future, we saw some awkward finishes, some Kofi Kingston type stuff, the saving yourself before you get eliminated in a crazy way. That Shawn one happened pretty dang organically, and the image is iconic, and it's Howard Finkel saying both feet must touch the floor. It's just golden. As far as my favorite Rumble, I'm going to stick in the 90s. 1997 Stone Cold's victory in that Royal Rumble match. I loved it. So much fun in that match. You had Fake Razor and Fake Diesel, which was hilarious. But you also had a star-studded lineup of legit stars You had the Brett and Austin story being told, which was awesome. And one of my favorite Rumble moments, underrated Rumble moment, not all time, but just a classic comedy spot. Mil Mascaras in his lone Rumble appearance, eliminating himself. the man of a million masks, eliminating himself intentionally in 97. Just an unforgettable moment. I love that card. It was in San Antonio, just like Saturday night's main event was on Saturday. But yeah, that's gonna be my number one. There's a lot though that I really did enjoy. But those two stick out to me for sure.
Two fantastic shouts, no doubt about it. We got Johnny saying Snitsky eliminating Paul London and Kane choke slamming
That was a good one.
through a table. Fantastic. There were so many great moments. Shard is saying Maven eliminating Undertaker. That's another one.
Great moment. All-time moment.
And you think back to it now, like you cannot imagine that happening. J Money says Rey Mysterio's Royal Rumble win. That was brilliant as well.
Very cool. Yes.
I honestly, if I was a few years younger, I think I would have actually have gone with that one too. Because I think it would have meant a bit more.
Cena Batista when Vince tears both his quads is iconic. Right? It really is. And then the original on the other side of that, you have Bret Hart and Lex Luger, both feet touching the floor at the same time.
Yeah.
It's the same spot. Ironically.
It is, yeah. Running it back. I Make Beat says another great moment, another great Rumble moment is Rikishi and Too Cool doing the dance mid-Rumble. Then Rikishi eliminates them both.
Oh, it is.
There are Oh, and of course, the famous I Make Beats, Mick Foley, Three Faces of Foley, no doubt about it. We've also got Jesse Hyde in the comments, and I'm not going to read that one out. Shout out to you, Jesse, but I'm not going to read out Dirt Sheet spoilers because, again, like I say all the time, I think they're hurting the business. I don't want to know spoilers about it. And yeah, they charge money to hurt the business overall and the money which the business earns. But, Soul, I want to find out your favorite Royal Rumble moment and your favorite Royal Rumble match.
Okay, so favorite Royal Rumble moment for me has to easily go to Drew McIntyre eliminating Brock Lesnar from the 2020 Royal Rumble. My first ever Rumble I watched live and was really the moment that really introduced me to Mr. McIntyre and realizing he was a homeboy. I love that moment. I like to replay it back from that Rumble. It's my favorite moment of that entire Rumble. I know a lot of people like Edge. I didn't know who Edge was, so that's my moment for me. But like my favorite match of all the Rumbles and all that, it's a toughie. It's a real toughie. Personally, I'm kind of more lenient to go with in recent memory. Oh, the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match. Oh, I love that match. I love it. It makes me so refreshed from Mountain Dew.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. It's Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens at the Rumble where Sammy turns. I think with that match, it's a very good match, and obviously the moment afterwards is just as memorable as the whole entire match. But I really do enjoy that match. I gravitate towards it and always have a little bit of joy watching that match, hopefully knowing what comes afterwards. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a brilliant one. And I mean, yeah, there are just so many great moments at the Royal Rumble.
I, for some reason, may have misheard the question too, because if we are throwing in non-Rumble matches as well.
No, it was Rumble matches.
But I have to give a huge shout out to Cena versus Umaga. I think that was John Cena's greatest single title defense in his whole career.
Yeah.
That last man standing match, it's the best last man standing match I've ever seen. And I think it's John Cena's best title defense ever.
You know what? I might have to take mine back because I completely forgot this one happened. This is actually my favorite Royal Rumble moment. AJ Styles debuting at number 3 in 2016. I mean, that moment for me is up there. Just it still annoys me they messed up the camera work a little bit, but that moment is up there for me as my favorite moments of all time. I can't believe I forgot about that. But my favorite ever Royal Rumble, off the top of my head, and this undoubtedly has a lot of recency bias in it, but I can't remember a Rumble which I enjoyed more than the 2024 Women's Royal Rumble, just because there were so many surprises in it. We had Jordan Grace, we had Jade Cargill, the return of Naomi. I mean, it was surprise after surprise after surprise. The action was so fun. And it kicked off the event too. So I was, still really, hyped for it all and everything. And honestly, for me, that's actually probably the most I've ever enjoyed a Royal Rumble. But again, recency bias has to affect it when it comes to a match such as a Royal Rumble, because there's so many things to remember. I mean, like, you can't remember it each year, can you, Clark?
No, it is wild to me. I kind of defaulted to the 90s based on the question. And then the more we
Yeah.
got into the conversation, stuff started to come back. And I was like, I may have. It's an endless debate because there's so much history when it comes to the Royal Rumble. And that's what makes this week so fun. It's my favorite PLE, including Mania, of the year. Shout out Pat Patterson
A lot of people
for inventing this for us. I love WrestleMania, but there's a lot of pressure on it. There's a lot of the pageantry, which is great. And WrestleMania is WrestleMania, but it's like, I watch the NFL, right? Sometimes the best game of the year isn't the Super Bowl. And the Royal Rumble, in my eyes, consistently delivers one of the best games of the year, for the lack of a better way to put it, right? You're going to be entertained because of the format, and it's special. It's something I always look forward to. And that's no knock on Mania. I promise. I don't mean it like that. It just is my favorite of the major PLEs when it comes to WWE.
A lot of people agree with you, and I think when it comes to wrestling, we always use the phrase suspending your disbelief. And a big part of that is surprises and stuff like that. And obviously, the Royal Rumble is the only pay-per-view which is really unpredictable for, a full hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Now 2 hours during it for the Royal Rumbles. You don't know who's going to come out next, and I think that adds a lot to it.
It also, there's something about like when you're in an arena or at home watching, right? Wrestling shows in general, we love to do the, like, why is Yeet so over, right? Why are all those things so over? Like, we love to do all of that. You're guaranteed with the 90 seconds plus, whatever it is, between entrants. There's something about the rhythm of it, and also how important it is because of the Mania title shot. You're focused on all of it.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier because by midway through the match, you're starting to think like, oh, wow, some of the guys I thought, or women I thought could have won, have already been eliminated. Who's not out yet? And it's a very fun. It only can happen really once a year. There's no way you can do this more than once. But it's like
they tried.
It works every single time. I think even disappointing Rumbles turn out to look better on paper in hindsight. And that's, I think, what's most impressive about the Royal Rumble.
Undoubtedly. David Marge says that he wants CM Punk to win and he's excited for the surprises, and he thinks this year could be the best Rumble. I mean, it is certainly the most open one in years, when the favorite for the match, according to the betting market, is John Cena, who's already announced himself to be at Elimination Chamber, presumably in an Elimination Chamber match, because he did say that originally. So, I mean, if he's the favorite, it tells you it's very, very open indeed. Chad says it's really part of wrestling history and a special spectacle, no doubt about it. JMoney17 says he agrees and he enjoys the Rumble's tone. It makes you a bit anxious. It keeps you on edge. Yeah, absolutely. Soul, would you say you prefer it to WrestleMania?
Oh, 100%, absolutely. The Royal Rumble, obviously created by Pat Patterson, advertising it as something that works specifically within the television environment, even back to the NBC days. The executives there realized how special this was with the mysterious atmosphere to it. You're not going to get surprises all the time in the Royal Rumbles, but that's always that thought in your back of the mind. Oh, somebody random can show up who's not been in the company for the last 5 years, or somebody who's been out with injury. It is the ultimate spectacle. I mean, I know a lot of people love WrestleMania, but like, if you had to go to me as like, hey, which show do you want to go to, a Royal Rumble or a Mania? I'd rather go to a Royal Rumble. Like, yeah, they can, be a dud sometimes, but so can WrestleMania, and that's just the win of the basket. I just really like the Royal Rumble as a concept. That's why I feel like every indie promotion around this time does a Royal Rumble concept, because the Royal Rumble is that popular. Because the concept of it is just amazing. The fact that they tested it out in a house show and it didn't work, and they still were dedicated enough, right? It didn't work that time. Let's try and give it another shot. And that was a staple after all these years, a part of WWE's Big Four. And think about it as well, this is going to be the first Royal Rumble on Netflix. that wide audience that people are going to see it, that wide platform. It's going to be amazing. But I will say, people don't get too, hyped and think some people from certain companies are going to show up, because, limit your expectations and you won't come out of it disappointed and think it's the worst thing ever. Have some fun with it.
Absolutely, that's a great shout.
agree.
Always keep your expectations low, and you can't be disappointed. And like you said, this year in the UK, in Canada, and a few other places as well, it will be on Netflix, so there undoubtedly will be a bigger audience. In fact, I've got a couple of people who are coming over to my house who used to watch wrestling, who haven't watched it in years, who want to watch it just because it's back on Netflix now, and it's so easy to watch without having to pay any additional money.
Remember, do not win the pool in your own Rumble party. That's the only way to ruin the party. I did that a few years ago. It's the worst case scenario. We all drew out of a hat numbers. It was so much fun. And I got number 30, and like, sure enough, I win. And I was like, yeah, guys, I as the host, I wasn't supposed to win. Like, this isn't fun anymore. It's like, I'm sorry. Because everyone's then all of a sudden accusing me. They're like, you knew something. I'm like, we drew out of a hat. Like,
oh, that's hilarious. I think that was the Cody one the first time, right?
no, I believe it was.
Oh,
It was when Brock was 30, but Brock didn't win that Rumble.
Okay.
It was, I had 30 and I had like 28 and 28 won, I believe. I forget.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you had 30 and 28 too. Oh,
Yeah. So like the end of the
that's
match was just,
brutal
it took
drawing
all
those
the
to
steam
begin
out of
with.
it because I had half the people in the ring. So it was like, because we had 15 people over, right? So we had 2 numbers per person. And like the women's Rumble went great, off without a hitch. Men's Rumble as fun as could be throughout. And then we get to the end and I've got 30 and 28. And it's like, it's starting to get, I knew as soon as like 25 and 6 came in, and I can't remember the specifics. I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was like, I'm like, oh, this is bad. Cause like, it's going to very much look like I'm hosting the party with everybody. And it's going to very much look like I did this intentionally somehow.
I mean, it would if you have 28 and 30 at your own.
But it was funny
in
because
one of the only recent years, I think, when the betting favorite won as well at 30. So that, or 28. That is nuts. I Make Beats is saying that he loves Rumbles and Battle Royales. They are always a laugh, no doubt about it. I Make Beats says work rate isn't the driving force. It's the hype match of the year. 100%. It's just fun. It's enjoyable, but you do get to see some incredible work rates by some people who've gone the distance over the years. No doubt about it. If you guys want to find out who I predict to win, check out the YouTube video, which I posted earlier today with my top 10 picks on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel. But of course, watch this first. But without further ado, let's head into the mailbag, shall we? Because we have a question from Just.Apart over on Instagram. Shout out to you. And he is asking, should Omos is coming back to WWE. Should he head to NXT or back to the main roster? I mean, he has been in Japan now for it was basically a month run, right? And in this month, he went there, he joined a faction, he won the tag team championships, he became the most over star pretty much in the company. He was going on the streets and everyone was going wild for him. He enters the arena, everybody chants for him. He was over. He was the biggest. He's the biggest star he's ever been. It was absolutely insane. Somebody could get over that quickly. He is on fire. He has got momentum right now. But should he return? And if so, how? Sorry, should he return? He is going to return. They announced that when he left Noah. But how should he return, Clark? Royal Rumble, main roster, NXT? What's your shout?
This one's interesting because I have to give a monster shout out first and foremost, basically to whoever in the office, whether it was Triple H or somebody else, that was able to make a smart decision and go, we don't need to let go of Omos. He needs experience elsewhere, and allow this Japanese wrestling run to happen. It was genius because he got way over, like you said. As far as returning, though, we know they're very different audiences. Some will know that, like us, and be stoked to see Omos. Others still remember Omos and Brock and when we lost Salem in WWE. I do not mind Omos debuting on the main roster given the work he put in Japan. Man, did he earn it. but I don't know if that's the smartest move. If it's me, you make him stand opposite Obafemi. He surprises Obafemi over on NXT, and you have that stare down because nobody but Omos hardly in this whole industry can dwarf Obafemi in a stare down like Omos possibly can. And I think you add that notch to his belt, then we make the move to the main roster down the road, just like Obafemi does. But I'm all over that. Obafemi, Omos, stare down. Let's do it.
While as a fan, I would undoubtedly love to see that, and I absolutely would, right? And Shard's saying it too, it's what everybody wants. But here's my concern, what Shard is saying here. Have Oba eliminate Omos and have him come to NXT for revenge. I mean, I would actually, to be fair, that exact comment I would actually like to see. As long as, if that happens, Omos ends up dethroning Obafemi. And the reason I say this is Omos, at this point in time, I don't think he's in a position where he can necessarily put somebody over. And long term, I'd love for him to put Obafemi over. But right now, Omos should be entering his prime. This should be the time for him to be put over. But to both of your points, Obafemi, Omos in the same ring.
Electric.
Viral moment.
That's scary. It's scary to think about the tension with that stare. The stare down might be better than the match. And that doesn't even upset me this once.
That some meat says I make beats. I really can't disagree with you there. It would be amazing. Jesse Hyde saying that will make the fans of WWE and Noah happy for Omos. I mean, if he ever goes back to Japan now, like he's a star there. They were just chanting him as he was announcing after a month he was leaving. When's that ever happened in a company? Somebody's come in for a month, become the biggest star in your company, and then left. You're going to have to go back to maybe Andre in the territory days.
Yeah, Bruiser Brody did it often. Guys like that. Yeah.
I would have said Psycho Sid in WWF days when he was there for maybe like under a year.
But even Psycho Sid by the end got a little stale. That was a long run. Yeah. Psycho Sid had a longer run than that. I mean, speaking of, it's kind of funny. We brought up the 97 Rumble. That main event was Psycho Sid and Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
After the Rumble match.
But, I mean, okay. Brian Juden says this. When you can't work or get over in America, you become a Japanese wrestler. And he's saying, it was true in the 80s and it's true today.
I disagree because Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody were both over in both places.
Exactly.
Kurt Angle was over in both places. Brock Lesnar was over in both places. Kenny Omega's been over in both places. AJ Styles has been over in both places. Finn Balor's been over in both places. And do you want me to keep going?
Literally, there's so many examples. So there's something in Japan called excursion. Yeah, there we are. It's pretty much everybody. There's something in Japan called excursion, right? Where they send all their young talents over to a different country. They've started now doing it to other Japanese companies too. But historically, it's been to another country. And the point is, you learn their style and you adapt. And having that exposure will make you a better all-rounded worker. And WWE have done this with Omos, and it might have just revived his love for wrestling as well a little bit. Sometimes, I'll bring it back to, my love of football, right? Arsenal, Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal coach. He is taking, and he does this every year, the Arsenal squad on a trip, a 1-week trip to Dubai to just train there, right? It's hot weather training, so, it's meant to be better for you or whatever. They come back and it's freezing in the UK. It's got nothing to do with the fact it's hot there. That's completely false. The reason why he actually does it is it's a change. And that change makes you, it just mentally, it just changes something for you. It makes you look at things with a different perspective. And that's what it does. And also, Brian saying everyone gets over that. That's
ridiculous. It's the funniest thing in the world.
I'm not even reading anymore. Right? We'll watch a Japan show.
I was just watching that, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. We're skipping the rest of those comments.
Swing and a miss.
But the next question is for you. And this is from AJ Soren again over on Instagram, who says, hot take, the 5 PLE match format doesn't work, as it barely covers 70% of the show and the rest is filled with adverts. So I want to get your thoughts on this.
There's a lot of problems with the 5 structure matches PLEs, and I'll cover as most as I can now on the top of my head. Let's talk about the title pictures. When you have so many titles in WWE, from 2 sets of tags, a women's tag, 2 women mid cards, 2 women's main championships, 2 men championships, United States and Intercontinental, and you only have 5 matches on these PLEs, minus the big 4, right? Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, Mania, and Survivor Series. Like, those ones are usually a bit longer because, you know, they're the big ones, right? But the 5 structure ones are the ones that are most frequent, meaning that you should use these time effectively while it's switching things out or allowing other titles to get a breathe and let other titles get that showcase. We let that title, if it's not good, look at the tags. It's taken nearly a full calendar year for them to finally get on a PLE with the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY upcoming with the Royal Rumble. And nobody cared about them. And it wasn't even they used the TV time effectively. They weren't defended on TV at all, pretty much. They weren't given that showcase. And if you're going to have 5 PLE match structures, you need to dedicate the time to everything, or else some things are not going to be cared about. You could be on the best wrestler in the world, you could have the best storyline, but if it ain't on a PLE, there's a portion of wrestling fans that just won't care about it because they won't see it as importance. Another thing, cost. If you are paying the amount of money for WWE tickets and other wrestling venues as well, where their ticket prices are quite high, obviously with the nature of the business at the moment, and you're given 5 matches, you could get 5 stunners and be like, well, I got my money's worth. Or you could do something like Bad Blood, an exceptional opening match, a pretty good ending match, and a, you know, tuna-filled mid-card medium meat match, right? Where everything else is just a bit of nah and all that. But if you're paying 400 or 300 or 200 pounds just to sit up in the rafters with Sting, like, why bother? You could watch it for $9.99 or 14 quid, or how much Netflix is at home in your own comfort, with a nice wee cheeky takeaway and a nice bit of cold things called central heating as well, which is a nice thing to have in this modern day and age. That's the main problem about it, is that I understand a lot of people will say, well, timing. Well, that's fair enough if you like the structure of the timing of these shows to be nice and condensed, easy to do, and, you know, you're in and out before you get home for tea and all that. That's cool. But I feel with how big their title pictures are getting, you're going to get things that are missed. Like, how many of these structured PLEs have kind of been the same thing, where it's mostly around, you know, getting the main titles on there from the women's or the men's side, and then filling it up with a mid-card match with one of the mid-card titles. Like, imagine if we go, like, imagine from this point, right? If we go a year and we don't see the Women's United States or the Women's Intercontinental or the United States again. Like, that's going to be a detriment to those belts and being taken seriously, as well as the tags. So if they're going to continue with this 5 PLE structure from a booking standpoint, you're going to need to downsize some of the belts to allow everything to be showcased. Because at the end of the day, if you continue with this kind of plan, not everything can get showcased, and all you have is a nice thing to sell for fans on the WWE shop as a replica.
Well, to play devil's advocate here real quick, do you think belts need to be defended on a pay-per-view when technically there's now more eyes when you watch them on the weekly product?
Well, my point of view is that they're always building to the PLE. When you have something like Michael Cole saying, and coming up next is Royal Rumble, and, you know, everyone's going to be there, and they're hyping all this up. Like, yes, you're watching the main show like Raws or SmackDowns, but they're always hyping up what's coming next, and it's a PLE. From my point of view, what I like in a champion is I like going back and seeing all their defenses and how they did, and they had a good reign. That's how I see it in my point of view, is being working champion, defending the belt, and having, you know, good matches, right? If you're holding a belt and you don't get put on a PLE, from my point of view, it means your stock's not there, because the PLEs are big things. They get their own little dedicated section on Netflix. They're the big things that people want to go to. Usually they're the big high ticket prices. People are more wanting to travel to these PLEs than a TV taping. Yes, the TV tapings might have bigger eyes on it, obviously with Netflix going on right now, but they're always building to the PLE, whether it's WWE, TNA, or AEW. They're always building to the big show that's coming up, where this is the big thing that's always happened. This is where storylines could be continued on or ended or started. Even like WrestleMania, I see WrestleMania as like an Ouroboros. It's a snake that eats itself. It's the starting point and it's the ending point. Stories can start, stories can end. And I always feel as a champion, you should be wanting to get on these big cards because you're getting that kind of big showcase. Doesn't matter with the weekly product.
No.
That's the big goal you're working towards.
Yeah, I absolutely do agree. Clark's just banned the wrong person.
I messed
in the
up.
chat.
I banned the wrong person. I'm sorry. I make
And that
beats.
is
I owe you one.
awful. Right, okay. Well, we'll figure out on how to get that.
How do you end a timeout on them?
Don't bat. Okay, don't do that, Clark. It messes up the thing. Don't do that.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, so I do agree with you completely. To be brutally honest, I personally I'm not a fan of when there's like 8-match cards, like what AEW do. I don't think that's too much the other way, but I do agree 5 I think is too short. Personally, I don't mind the ad breaks between the matches too much, and the reason for that is, you can get up, you can get a drink, you can come back, and you've not missed anything. Whereas when shows are really fast paced, you feel like you can't do that and you might miss some things and you miss some of a match. So I don't mind that. But 5-match cards, especially to go to your point, so when you pay that much money to go to, it's a bit short. 6 or 7 for me is the sweet spot. I did think it worked brilliantly for NXT takeovers back in the day, but for the main roster with this roster size, to your point, I really don't think it does work quite as well anymore. We need to work out how we're going to unban I Make Beats, Clark.
I know. It's the biggest mess up of my career. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
I owe you one. I Make Beats. I'll send you a free WR t-shirt on me for that mistake. It was the other guys I was trying to ban, and your comment came in at the exact wrong time, and I clicked it wrong. I will reach out in the DMs at Real Clark Taylor on Instagram. I will send you a free WR t-shirt at the very least, maybe even something else, a gift. As my apology, the other 2 dudes can be banned. I don't care. We're getting them out of here. We're done with that stuff. We're not going to do this whole like, no. But I Make Beats. I apologize. I owe you one. If you please be still listening, reach out to me via DM.
They've got a new account already in the chat again.
Oh, these guys are crazy. These guys are wild.
Unless this is Frank the Tank, I don't care, Frank from New York.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I don't know who the boys are, but all 3 of us interview wrestlers. All 3 of us have involvement in the wrestling business, and all 3 of us know for a fact that that's not true. So I don't know what on earth.
Everyone's
you're
trying
going
to
on
say
about.
boys in the business, and my favorite thing is like, we're in the business. We don't wrestle, but we are technically, fundamentally speaking, in the business. Like that is just it's a fallacy.
I've taken some bumps. There's never had the match. Didn't make.
I
it
have
that
2
far.
just less voluntarily. How do I end the I Make Beats one? Is the biggest whiff. I Make Beats. I'm so sorry. I owe you forever. I promise. I will make this up to you.
Do you want me to go next?
You're like my favorite commenter.
Backstage stuff.
What?
Do you want me to go? I'll go next with the next topic if you want to focus on the backstage stuff and get things.
No,
started.
we're good.
No. It's all good. We'll get him back. Don't worry. Let's move on to our main question because I have stuff to say for this. Because this question is from at TBS Mo3 over on Instagram, who is saying, Randy Orton is the best all-around wrestler of all time. Keywords all around. And actually, when you talk about all around, somebody who's safe in the ring, puts on good matches, tells fantastic storylines, gets moves over, is a great promo, sells tons of merch, is a draw, I actually think you can make that argument. In fact, I think it's hard to argue that you can't make that argument. Randy Orton has to be in the conversation. For me personally, I'm going to be honest, I think it's Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Those are probably the 2 names that I would give. A bit of a wild card shout. Actually, maybe if you ignore the last couple of years, think you can maybe throw Chris Jericho in that argument too. But nowadays saying that's like awful. You can't say that anymore. But he does draw. He has reinvented himself. So I'm going to hand this one to you first. Who do you think is the best all-around wrestler of all time? Is it Mr. RKO?
Okay, so here's the problem with this kind of question, right? The best of anything is always subjective. You could make the most definitive argument for the best of anything, but there will always be holes in that argument. I believe, in my personal opinion, no argument is ironclad. There will always be pokes and holes within an argument. to say Randy Orton is the best all-arounder is a bit of an issue because you're just like, I feel like somebody who asked this is clearly a big Randy Orton fan. If Randy Orton's your favorite wrestler of all time, that's amazing. That's good for you. But I feel like with that, you're just focusing on the WWE pinpoint, because when you expand your knowledge to Mexico, to the UK, to Japan, there are so many more impressive and amazing stars that it dwarfs the sense of the American scene. To say who the best all-arounder, in my opinion, is, again, it's subjective, but it's tough to say. I could say somebody like a star like El Santo from the old days of Mexico Lucha Libre, or even Mystico with his amazing style and popularity in Mexico. To Japan, I could say Ricky Dozan, Giant Baba, Antonio Inoki, Mitsuharu Misawa, Jun Akiyama, or Kenta Kobashi. Like, those kind of names within Japan, no joke, dwarf anything that people have done in WWE up to the likes of Hogan in the 80s with what those guys did in Japan. Even in the UK, you could say somebody like, well, you know, I think Lionheart was the best all-around wrestler of all time. He was an absolute star in what he did for the Scottish scene. But then when you go on to things like even down south with London, you could look at, or even Wales, Adrian Street. Some people will say him because of what he did within the Welsh scene and what he was doing there. Like, that's a fair point as well. London, Ospreay, Zack Sabre Jr. People within the Knight family might even want to make an argument. So I feel like it's a tough thing to say that I couldn't even give an answer, because every argument I would make, I could go, oh, well, that person actually was a bit better. That person actually did things differently in this way. So I'm going to have to cop out and go on the fence here. But like, it's such a hard question to say that for me to give an answer like this, you'll need to give me like Batman prep time for like this sort of thing, because it's such a hard general question to answer. But things like these, it's always subjective, but I feel like you got to broaden your horizons when you ask these kind of questions.
Well, to be fair, they probably, you know, they might have. I think you can have watched it all and still be able to argue Randy Orton. But to your point, and J Money 17 says you do have a point, it is tough to pick it, and it is subjective as well, by the way. There's certainly no subjective one. But Soul, if you had to give one name right now, who are you giving? Give one name. I Make Beats back. Shout out to you.
And I will send you the t-shirt. Reach out.
Fine then.
I owe you for life.
Mitsuharu Misawa from Noah.
Oh, great shout. I like that one indeed. Clark, what about you? Is Randy Orton the best all-rounder? If not, who are you picking?
Okay, best of the modern era? Yes, definitely. I think John Cena was great, but wouldn't call him necessarily an all-rounder fully, because he played a pretty specific role for the majority of his career. So that's where I would put him below Orton on that list, but above him on various other lists. So let's not get too into Orton and Cena. As far as all time, to me, the best all-around wrestler ever is Shawn Michaels, and it's really not close. Like, in any way, it's not close. He's that good on the mic. He's that good at being a babyface. He's that good at being a heel. He's that good at selling, and he's that good at wrestling. And so nobody really touches him. He's the Michael Jordan of this game, right? In the NBA, Bill Russell had 11 championships, and that's all great and all. Michael Jordan had his 6, but there's a reason when the GOAT conversation comes up, we're talking about his airness, MJ, and not Bill Russell, who is a hero of mine as well. That is no knock on Bill Russell, but I'm just saying, if you're going resume for resume, it's not necessarily about that. It's Michaels at 1 and then everybody else. Orton is probably in the top 5, though. There's something really special that he's been able to accomplish over the course of his career in the WWE, because he's managed to evolve, but also maintain consistency. I've never felt at any point in Randy Orton's career that what he was doing was not entertaining or he needed to like reassess, and he continues to do it. And every time out, he reinvents himself. How did he make RK Bro work? You're kidding me. That is that's the least Randy Orton thing there is, and he made it work perfect. How Legend Killer? How did he go out and RKO all these legends over that time and continue to make it work without it getting annoying? without it getting frustrating. Then he evolves. The Viper, every little movement matters. His mic work is off the charts. He's definitely up there, but not quite Shawn Michaels.
Fair enough. JMoney17 says CM Punk and Shawn Michaels. CM Punk, another one who I think you can argue in that argument. Obviously took a lot of years away, just like Shawn did actually. But yeah, I mean, I do think you could make an argument there for CM Punk. I Make Beat says, I don't think there is a way to decide the best ever. It's too subjective, and the top 5 are all in there for different reasons. Oh, it is. It's completely a personal choice, too. Like, there'll always be biases.
I even think about,
involved.
like, Kurt Angle, names like that. Like, I named a lot of international talent, but, like, all-rounders, right? Like, Bret Hart, we haven't even brought up. And like
I did.
You brought him up, but I mean, we haven't even like vetted that one. And it's just, there's so many names when it comes to this list that it's like Bruiser Brody, for that matter. Like Bruiser Brody was over everywhere he went, period.
That's true.
I'll say you could literally make a top 10 list of like late 80s, early 90s, all Japan roster. Cause like those guys over there during that time period were
no doubt.
Oh, it's insane. One name we haven't mentioned, which I do think, despite, our thoughts of him now, whatever, but somebody who has to be in that conversation is Ric Flair.
Oh, I can't believe we haven't said Ric Flair. Yeah, of course.
Because he was an all-rounder.
60 minutes every freaking night.
And sold so much merch. He was one of the best promos in the business. Dusty, too. You could make an argument for Dusty. It's crazy.
It is actually crazy how deep the list. Sting isn't like, I mean,
I would rank Steamboat above Sting in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
Steamboat's another fantastic show.
Steamboat,
too.
man,
Steamboat has to be top 5.
Eddie Guerrero, obviously career cut short, but Eddie Guerrero, man, for all arounder, like, how can you not?
So difficult.
Macho Man,
absolutely is. Yeah. Well, that does, I guess, bring us to the end of the show. I mean, a bit of an eventful one, wasn't it, with these commenters? I Make Beats got blocked accidentally and made it back. The comeback of the century. Forget who appears in the Royal Rumble. I Make Beats made a better comeback. JMoney17 is asking how to join us. We only ever have contributor rules available, if people want to come on shows and stuff. But if you do want to do that, send us your resume to wrestlingrepublic@gmail.com and we'll get back to you. But thank you to Sol. Thank you to Clark, and we will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Hopefully less of these comment issues. We will see you guys there. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and shout out I Make Beats. See you guys tomorrow. Ba 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 ba.